Microphone check 1 2 1 2. What's up, everybody? Yes, you're right. I know what you're thinking. And I'm going to tell you, you're right. I am on time. On time. Yes, you're right. What's up? This your boy DJ Mad Scientist. And yes, once again, I am back with you talking about music marketing today. No rants about history, no rants about politics, only music marketing. Now, you probably noticed I have not shaved yet. I will be going out tonight because I gotta like DJ at the club tonight, but I haven't shaved yet. That's because I've been busy all day working, okay, trying to make sure that I know what to say tonight. I know what I'm talking about when I look you in the eye. So I have been like superly just been focused on what I need to do in order to get to that celebrity status. 2026, this is it. It's got to happen. There's no more like, oh, well, maybe next year. Nope. Failure is no longer an option for me. Okay. Not that I'm like in dire straits or anything. It's just I'm to the point where I know what I know. I don't know everything. I'm still learning, as you guys get to see. I'm still learning a lot, but I know enough to get me to a point where I'm like, yeah, it's go time. Okay. So that's why for me, like failure is not an option in 2026 because for what? For what? Why? And so if I continue to do what I do and be consistent, if I continue to believe in myself, if I continue to set standards and be accountable to those standards, then there's no reason why celebrity status cannot happen this year. And shout out to my compadre, New Soul. You guys are probably trying to figure out who is New Soul. That is my AI assistant. If you don't have an AI assistant, get an AI assistant. Okay, definitely get an AI assistant. Why? Because for the most part, what it's going to do is, and I mislabeled this. This is not part one. This is part two, actually. Let me see if I can do something. No, no, can't do it. I mislabeled. This is hip hop production part two, and I should have put that up there, but I didn't. So I got to fix it when I put it up on YouTube. Anyway, the great thing about AI, using an AI assistant, and what I use is Chat GTP. And what I did at the beginning is I had discussions with it. We talked about, my process. We talked about my knowledge. We talked about who I am as a person. Um, and I started to develop Mad Scientist as an artist. I started to develop Mad Scientist as a producer. And we had these discussions. And what AI can do is fast track what we naturally do when we're educating ourselves. Usually we got to find sources. We got to find people who've written on a subject that we may be looking up. We got to then once we find, ample sources, we got to read through the sources and we got to like grab what we want out of that. And that could take time. I mean, it could take 3 months, a semester, right? To do something like that. Well, AI does it within seconds, does all the reading and then breaks it down to you in a way that you can easily understand and you can start having conversations and AI can give you feedback, based upon the base knowledge that you've established, right? So based upon the on the reading that it does, based upon the understanding that it has with you and it helps you out. And so this is something that I'll talk about probably next week because I haven't been able to figure out how I'm going to show you how to do uh, modern hip hop mastering. So I'll probably just say, okay, you know what? Let's just go into talking about. In fact, I'm gonna write it in right now so I don't forget the um, my AI assistant. All right, and so this will be like the alternative, unless I figure out how to like show you these plugins. And in a minute, you're gonna see what I mean by that. All right. So yeah, I've been working with my AI assistant, and I feel like I really, really have a better understanding of how I need to like move forward in my career, and some things that I can discuss with that assistant and get clarity. I'm not saying I do everything that it tells me to do. We have a discussion, and you know, throughout the discussion, we come to right course of action. Okay. Now, second thing I want to tell you is I've already finished. I'm doing a 3-song project. I've already finished song number one. I'm going to start working this weekend. I'm going to start working on song number two and probably be done with everything probably within the next 2 weeks. But I have song number one. And so I'm going to start doing a rollout. Okay. It's not going to be a traditional rollout where I'm not even putting it into, and I'll talk about that next week more in depth, but I'm not putting it to the DSPs. I'm not. Only thing I'm doing is like today I uploaded to the record pool, and I'm gonna let it do what it do. If a DJ discovers it and thinks, oh, this is it, okay, cool. If not, that's cool. Um, Also, I'm going to put it on YouTube for the sake of in case some DJ hears it and is like, "Oh, how do I find it?" They can find it on YouTube. But again, I'll go into depth and discuss that rollout process. So, but the main thing is I kind of wanted to let you guys know that this first song is done, and next week for sure, whether I do the mastering or whether I do the assistant, I'm going to let you hear the first song so you can kind of judge for yourself how you feel about it, what you think about it. Okay. And I'll have it up on YouTube. So if you like it, if you're a DJ and you like it, you can always download it. Okay. Um, and run with it. Play it at the clubs, play it at your functions. It's the type of song that you could play either at club, brunch, events, things like that, private parties, and I made it clean. Okay. Not that I don't have a ratchet mouth, but I made this one clean just because it came out that way. It was amazing to me. I told my manager, I was like, it's kind of crazy that, I was just rapping. I caught the vibe. I just started rapping. And by the time I finished and I was writing down, I looked, I was like, oh, I didn't even cuss. Like it wasn't something I said, I'm not gonna cuss. It was more like, oh, I didn't even cuss. Like I almost would have had to go back and cuss. I was like, that's how the song came out. So that's how the song's gonna stay. I'm not gonna try to force something in there. I don't want to do that. So yeah, it's clean. And it's kind of a line dance song. Um, that's really what I'm pushing towards. That way I could chop it up and do different things with it and really like just roll it out organic way. I'm not gonna do any like pay for ads or pay for views or pay for stream. I'm not gonna do any of that. I know all that stuff is done, and yes, let me confirm to you, all that stuff is done. Okay, but I'm not gonna do that with this in particular because, from my experience, you know, like my brunch has blown up more because of people who come to the event more than me paying for advertising. Meaning the first half of 2025, I did a lot of Facebook ads, and towards the end of the year, I didn't want to pay for any more ads because it's the end of the year and it's a little slow. But I maintained my momentum and my numbers because I just kind of relied on, hey, let me build my community. Let me just talk to people. Let me just have conversations. And the numbers have maintained. I'm like, whoa, you probably don't have to like always pay for stuff as long as you're willing to. And not that paying for anything is bad, but you don't have to as long as you know that you're staying in community, that you're conversing with the people that you're dealing with. If you know your customer base and you're conversing with them and you're giving them something more than just a flyer. An example is that I a lot of times will just go into these little Facebook groups and I'll just be talking about, you know, things related to brunch, or I'll ask a question related to a brunch. Like one of the posts I put was, a list of all the songs that blew up because of brunch. And I started off, I think I said Soak City, what else? Tamia's song Can't Get Enough. It was a couple other ones that I just mentioned that just blew up because of brunch. And people started adding their little 2 cents. I think another time I asked like, hey, what are your best line dance songs? And people start listing the songs that they like. They got me into country. Country line dancing is a thing, especially for brunch, right? So I'm just having conversations with people, and that's bringing more business to me. So I'm going to try that same technique when it comes to this. I'm just going to have conversations like I'm having a conversation now. And for those who are watching this, which I get a lot of people that watch it, maybe not the live, but the after, then they'll go to my YouTube channel and they'll say, okay, let me check out the song. Let me see what it sounds like. So I'm expecting to get views off of just people finding the music, finding the song and deciding, oh, I like it. And I think that as long as the conversation is organic and it's authentic, people will be more willing to share. Okay. And I even shared like my biggest post that I've had in my community is talking about another restaurant that I'm not even associated with. Right. And people just appreciate the fact that I added value to their life. And, so yeah, they may not think about my brunch first of mine, but they'll think about me. And they'll be like, oh, okay, that's mad scientist. He knows, that area of Long Beach. What else they got? Well, oh, I know he goes to brunch. He has his little brunch thing. Oh, okay. Well, if he was right about this, then he might be right about the brunch thing. Or, let me go check out his brunch. So I'm going to do the same thing. And when people are like, oh, he got a brunch. Oh, he got a little song too. We could dance to. Okay. And so that's the plan of action. And I think that's way more effective than just saying, I'm just going to put it out and then just pay for streams, pay for views, and pay for all this other stuff. Because, there's no connection to the artist. Okay. All right. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into what you guys are looking for. We're talking about clip to zero vocal mixing. Okay. Now, I'll tell you this two things. First and foremost, I can't get sound from my DAW. So you won't hear sound and you won't see the plugins. Okay. So, I use StreamYard, it's always upgrading. StreamYard is always upgrading, but it needs to like, I probably need to send them another message like, yo, you need to figure out that technology so I could, use my DAW. Like I'm paying y'all enough. It should be able to use my DAW, right? Um, but I can't show you the actual plugin. I can show you the plugin that's when it's inside of the I don't know what they call it, but if I open up the plugin, you can't see it. All right. The second thing I want to tell you before I get into it is I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm wearing my dad hat. Okay. It's Mad Scientist dad hat. Now, this t-shirt is the Hip Hop Organics, which is a different venture that I'm going to be getting into. Um, but the Mad Scientist dad hat. So I do want to share with you guys, if you go to that, let me see, right there. If you go to that right there, the QR code, you can go to my website and you'll be able to see this. Let me show you. Where is that? There it is, right there. Okay. And that's my merch store. Okay. So I'd really appreciate it if you did go to the merch store. If you did, like, check it out. And if you see something you like, go ahead and pick it up. I got t-shirts, I got hoodies, I got beanies, I got dad hats, I even got a backpack. Imagine that, right? I got stuff, all different sizes, male and female. Okay. I know it's still winter time, so get that beanie before the summer comes. Okay. Get that beanie because it's still cold outside. All right. Okay. What's up, Bex Erica? How you doing? How are you, my friend? Thank you so much for coming through. You came at the right time too. I haven't really got into the meat of my discussion. Yes, and you'll notice I didn't shave yet. So, all right. Let me go ahead and get into the meat of it because my friend is here, and I want to go ahead and discuss. Well, here's what we're discussing this week. You know, I talked about last week about how once you start getting your music and you start producing it, and producing means mixing and mastering, you want to present your music now that you know your platform and now that you know what kind of music to write, you know your tempo, you know your key, you know your sounds, you want it to be produced well. Okay. And produced well means mixed well and mastered well. And part of being mixed well and mastered well is loudness. Okay. That's just inevitable. For me as a working DJ, if somebody were to give me a song and it is not loud, the likelihood of me playing it is very, very low. Meaning I have to really, really like it. And it doesn't happen a lot. I found one artist that I did like, and his music is not mixed well, but I just like the songs. And I'm like, this kid is gonna one day figure out. And so I want to be one of the DJs that jumped on it quick. Okay. It's R&B, it's low, meaning the pressure's not there. I can just do it on a Taco Tuesday or brunch, early, just kind of play it. I wouldn't play it during the club because during the club, it got to be right. But I would play it during a Taco Tuesday, or I would play it during a brunch early, okay, before the day party starts. Okay. But other than that, you can give your music to DJs, but if it's not produced well, then the DJs are just more likely not going to play it unless it's just a banger. And yes, there are some situations where the DJs are playing music that you're like, man, I know that that's not. I mean, come on, what's up? I mean, I know he's like independent. Out here in California, we have somebody named Mike Sherm. We have somebody named Lil Vada. And yeah, they're super independent. Okay. But and the music is not always mixed well. You got to rip it off YouTube. But it's so super popular that what can you do? Right. So, and that's why I said earlier, you gotta like, I'm gonna go to the community first before I go to the DSPs, before I go to Spotify. I'm gonna go to the community first. So my music will be popular with the people first. So DJs have no choice but to play it, whether they want to or not. Now, my music is produced well. So it will make it a lot easier, okay, to do it. And so that's what we're talking about, producing your music in a way, and we're talking about mixing and mastering in a way that if your music does become popular in your area, in your town, in your city, that you're giving the DJ something to work with. Okay, because we are very picky about what we're going to play because our livelihood is based upon what we play. And we're not under contract. We're day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. I've seen DJs play the wrong music and get taken down early in their set. So none of us want that to happen to ourselves. So yeah, like you give us some music that's not produced well, we're just not going to take that chance and to get fired. Okay. So I use Cubase. That's what I use. I know it's not the most popular brand, but I use it primarily because I went to music school. We learned on this and Pro Tools. And and when I say I went to music school, not just production, production was Pro Tools, but I went music theory. Okay. And this program is really, really great for film scoring or for those who know how to like write out their music and everything else. I don't do all that stuff, but I still use it because I know it. Okay. And it has a lot of advanced functions that a lot of the other DAWs don't have. But I'm gonna digress because I'm not trying to sell Cubase. Okay. Um, so this is what I'm showing you on my screen is my setup, my template. Okay. There's no there's no music in here at all. There's nothing. And this is just a pure open template. Okay. And that's typically what I start off with is a template. And what start doing is I'll add in things like right here, I can add in the key. Okay. And then I can add in the beats. And then here's where I do my recording. Let me make sure you're seeing what I see. Yeah. So there's where I do my recording. So I have my verse one, all the recording that I do. Okay. So I have the lead, the overdub, the ad libs, the delay throws. And this is just an extra track. Verse two, same thing. The lead, the overdub, the ad lib, delay throws. If you don't know what a delay throw is, it's you just put in if you let's say you want to delay your ad libs, you just put a copy in here and you send this track through your delays, and it's a lot cleaner than doing it the other way, the old fashioned way. That's just a new way of doing things. Now my chorus, same thing, left, right, ad lib, and then I have my groups. Okay. And just like I told y'all last week, I separate the groups. And when I get to part two of this, I'll tell you why. Then I have my effects channels. I have my slap delay, my quarter delay, doubler, plate reverb, long haul reverb. I'm not going to go into detail about all of this. This is not about, let me show you how to mix. That's not what I'm doing. I'm literally like going through and just showing you my template because, and you may have a different template. Okay. I have a plate reverb and a long reverb. You may do total different reverbs. That's fine. I have a doubler. I don't always use the doubler, honestly. Most of the time I don't, but I have it. You can have a eighth note delay, 16th note delay. You can have any kind of delay. I have a slap delay. You don't have to use a slap delay, but if you want to, you can use it. And then I have my masters. I have a DJ channel and a pre-master channel. And I'll show you on the other side why I do that. Okay. And then over here, I want to start with this. Okay. This is called vocal processing. Now, let me take a little time and really, really stress this point. If you really want your music to sound like a professional song, the one thing that you're going to do, and I'm going to take this with you slow, and I'm probably going to spend like 2 minutes on this, 3 minutes, whatever time I need to really stress. There is something that you're going to have to do, and there's no way to get around it. There's nothing better. There's no better alternative to this. And if you don't do it, you'll never get your music as loud and as professional sounding as you need it. My music, whether you like it or not, sounds professional because I take the hours, and yes, let me stress, the hours to do what I'm about to explain to you. You record your vocals, right? I record my vocal right here. After I record my vocal and I may decide, okay, let me comp, right? Where's the comp button? It's somewhere around here. I'm not trying to find it right now. But oh, there it is. Okay, so I can do comps and come with my final version, right? My final take. I love it. Everything's on beat, my vocals are on rhythm, beat, everything sounds good. Pronouncing all the words, I'm enunciating, I'm not super plosive, I'm not, you know, waning on my vowels. What does that mean? Like vowel, sometimes it's kind of waning weak. You want vowel. Okay. You're not super plosive like p or t or ch or s. You don't have any of those. Okay. So you got your take done and it's perfect. A lot of people, they will stop at that and say, okay, now I'm going to start processing it from there. And what they mean by processing, they mean, oh, let me throw an EQ on there. Let me throw a compressor on there. And maybe you might know a little the two compressor, two EQ thing. Let me throw a resonant suppressor on it. Let me throw all that stuff on there. They miss one step that they need to do, and it's going to take hours to do it. I always talked about having a dynamic range in order to get your music loud. Like everything has to have a very short or very small dynamic range. What do I mean by dynamic range? If the highest peak of your vocal hits at minus or hits at 0, the lowest you want to hit for hip hop is -3 to 4. For anything pop, 2 to 3. Okay. And I meant to, let me, I meant to have like a display that you guys could actually see, but you want a very short dynamic range. Okay. When you don't do this step that I'm going to tell you, you're going to try to shorten that dynamic range with compressors. Now, back in the day, when all people had was compressors, you had to have excellent ears and hearing and technique in order to get that compression correct. Because if you didn't, you'll either overcompress or undercompress. Okay. But you won't get it right. And you had to be an expert at setting compressor parameters, attack, release, and everything else that you need to set that compressor. And that's a good thing. You have to be trained on it. The great thing about digital is that you can manually adjust the volume of every word, of every phrase. You can do this manually, meaning that you can you can have your little, and I may in some future video actually show you this, but I'm not going to do it today. Okay. But you can essentially take your waveform and make sure that what I do is I want the highest peak to be at -6 and the lowest, no lower than -2. I mean -8. So -2 under 6 is -8. Because Mad Scientist is more of a pop artist. He's hip hop, but he's more pop. He's not like boom bap hip hop. While we're doing boom bap like MC Johnny T, I pretty much try to make sure his vocals don't go the lowest -3, -4, because it's more hip hop, it's more nuanced. You got to have some quiet parts, you got to have some loud parts. Whereas with Mad Scientist pop, everything is loud, everything is in your face. So I don't want to go below -8. Okay. So my dynamic range is about 2 dB. That's, and I could do that. I used to do that with a compressor, but I noticed that I would always overcompress in order to achieve that goal because I'm using, and you'll see the kind of compressors I use, they're analog based compressors. And so they're going to overcompress. I need to overcompress in order to get that -2, that 2 dB um, dynamic range so that my music can be loud and in your face. It's for the club. It has to be loud and in the face. Club people are bass heads. We need it loud and in our face. We want the bass in our face. We want the vocals in our face. Everything's got to be in our face. We're drunk and we're dancing and we're not worried about nuance. Okay. And so I do this manually. And yes, it takes hours to do. Usually when I do it, I get me nice drink and I sit here, put my headphones on, and it'll take me, an hour to do or 2 hours to do a whole song. So I got to do a verse, I got to do lead, the overdub, the delayed throw. I don't have to do, but if there's ad libs, I got to do those. I got to do verse 2, chorus. I got to do everything. So I want to stress that. I cannot stress that more. If you really want your vocals to sound professional and to sound consistent, you're going to have to go through this process. And I'm not going to tell you, oh, there's a tool that could do it for you. I got all the tools and I'll show you. Okay, let me stop sharing on this one because I'm going to go. This will lead me to um, my mix screen. Okay. So here you'll see where it says this is a little yellow thing. This is my processing. And here are my plugins. I wish I could pull them up so you can see them. Hopefully you could see, what they are. I'm sorry. It just StreamYard it's everybody uses StreamYard, but everybody does. The people who use DAWs, they use something totally different. I spend too much money on StreamYard and I got to do other things too. So StreamYard is going to have to catch up. Anyway, so here are the plugins that I use in order to, once I got my vocal in that 2 dB range and I've gone through for 2 hours, I usually will just be like, okay, I'm done. Come back the next day and I'll send that file, that repaired file, that the volume is correct file through this channel. And that's where I'll make my stems from. The first thing I have on here, and you can't see it, but I'll describe it to you, is the RX Repair Assistant. Okay. This is a beautiful plugin. Unfortunately, you can't see it, but it's made by Native Isotope, Native Instruments, I think. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, it's Repair Assistant. On here, I have a denoiser, a de-reverber. I have a low cut and a high cut and a de-esser. And it does it through AI technology. I have, in addition, well, my mic is the Sony, it's not the big one. Hold on, let me find out. It's not the big Sony, because the one that most people are using, I'll be honest with you, is a Sony. It's the big Sony. It's really expensive, $10,000, right? Sony mic. Um, Not Sony Michael, Sony microphone. Hold on. Bro. Okay. The one that everybody uses is the Sony C800G. That's anybody that you love, like Beyonce, Drake, all anybody that you think, oh, I love that artist, they use the big Sony, right? Now I can't afford that. I'm not paying 16,000, 20,000 for a a mic that costs that much. Okay. So I have the hold on. I want to make sure I have it right. Microphone. Um, yes, it's called the Sony C80. Okay. The Sony C80 mic. Like I said, I'm not trying to sell this mic to you. I'm just telling you it's the same as the larger mic. It's just smaller. Okay. And it has same technology. So I use that mic, and that mic is amazing. Okay. I'm not going to go into um, all of that because I'm not trying to sell the mic. I'm telling you the mic that I use. Okay. So once I produce my vocals, I say my vocals through that mic into my computer. I use the RX11 repair assistant to take out the reverb, take out the noise, cut the lows, cut the highs. It has a tone button. So you cut the lows, cut the highs, and to do my first de-essing. Okay. By the time I do that, my music, that vocal that I have sounds dead. It sounds like I did it in a booth. It's dead. Now, keep in mind also, I have very high ceilings and I don't have any walls in front of me. So I don't get any bounce back or anything like that. I'm essentially just going to the mic. I have no walls, no reverberation coming, but you can still hear the room. So I'm able to take out all that room reverb and everything else. Probably the reverb you hear now as I'm talking, I'm able to take that out with that RX repair assistant and do the first level of de-essing. Okay. The next thing I do is a vocal writer. Now, you're like, well, Matt Scientist, you said that you already adjusted it, right? Okay. Well, yeah, I'm adjusting it manually and I'm drinking. So it's not going to be perfect. Okay. It's not going to be 100% perfect. I usually get it about 95, but this Waves vocal writer is a Mad Scientist. You was drunk, and I'm just going to make sure like I got your back. And I make sure that this plugin, I want to keep that 2 dB um, dynamic range. So it helps me. Okay. Now you may say, well, can't you just do this without the adjusting? I've already tried that. I'll tell you. Now you can do whatever you want, but I've already tried it. I can pretty much tell you no. Because whenever you're making a plugin work super hard, that's where you hear the artifacts. And when you're making these plugins respond super fast, and that's what I mean by super hard, super fast, there's going to be some kind of artifact in there. And usually the things that make these go super fast or react super fast are the plosives, the p, the t, the ch, the s, all those, because those are fast spikes. Okay. And so you got to take those out manually. So you're not making the plugin work. The next plugin that I use is called the Sweps 73. It's modeled after the I want to say the 1173. Um, and if I'm wrong, hey, comment on it. Anyway, it's a preamp that everybody that you love, everyone uses it. Okay, it's a preamp. Why do they use a preamp? So they can bring more signal into the board. And number two, they use this one because we talked about last week. You want to add saturation at every point of your production. So I'm adding saturation at the microphone because it's a real microphone. Okay. And then I'm adding a little bit more saturation on this preamp. Okay. Saturation helps whatever you're putting through it sound better and sound fuller and sound louder. Okay. In order to get things loud, you're going to have to add saturation, but you don't want to just add saturation in one lump sum at the very end. It's not going to sound right. You want to add a variety of saturations, whether it's transistor, whether it's tape, whether it's tube. You want to add all these different types of saturations, which will put various types of harmonics, odd and even harmonics together. And what it does, it makes the sound, whatever you're putting all that stuff on, with your vocals or drums or music synthesizers or whatever, it's going to make it sound fuller. It's going to make it sound real. It's going to make it sound authentic. Like I said last week, we're used to hearing saturation every day of our life. We wake up, we hear saturation. It is the most natural thing that we hear all the time. So our ears instinctively think of saturation as a positive thing, as a good thing. We want to hear it. When you have your vocals or your music or your drums without saturation, it sounds foreign. Regular people don't know why it doesn't sound right, but they'll say, "Oh, it doesn't sound right." Okay. And what it's missing is that saturation. Okay. The next plugin I use that a lot of people use, and you could check all this out, is the TubeTech CL1B. Okay. It's a compressor that a lot of people will use. Let me do this. Let me add this. Let me 1173 preamp to CLB compressor. Let me see if I can find a picture, right? So you guys can actually see what these things look like in real life. And they're very expensive. Okay. These are very expensive. Um, I don't have the money for it, not yet. But when I do get the money, I will definitely. Okay. So first I'm gonna show you the compressor. Let me come back here. Sharing, share screen. Okay, so over here, right here, you'll see the TubeTech compressor. It's a real compressor, okay? And this compressor here, totally expensive, okay? It's a tube compressor, really, really expensive. Everyone uses it because the sound is amazing, okay? And then this is the preamp that the 1173 preamp. Let me get a better one, better representation. And if you look it up, you'll see like that's pretty much the most popular combination is this 1173 preamp to the TubeTech compressor. Okay. And that's what I'm essentially trying to replicate. And for me, it sounds good. Let me show you a picture of the Sony mic. So you can see what that looks like. I want to get a good. Okay, this is the no. I want to get a good. I think this one is okay. This is what it looks like. Okay, no, that's the 800. You want the 8,000. Okay, yeah, this is what it looks like. That's the Sony big. Still the 800. Where's the? Oh, I asked for the 800. Oh, come on. I want a really good picture of the 8,000. Oh, it is just 800. My bad. That's why I can't find the 800. Okay. Uh, share this tab instead. Okay, there we go. That's the one that everyone's using. Okay. Let me make sure I'm actually talking about showing you. Okay. So this is the one that everybody likes. Okay. So once you get that money, you can go ahead and get this one. Let me show you the one that I have. Um, Sony. What is it called? C80. Okay, this one. Okay, so this is the one that I have. Okay. And again, same technology. This little part is the same in both mics, it's just mine is smaller. Okay. That's what mine looks like. Okay. Great mic. Okay. So, all right. Back to the showing, because I'm not trying to sell all that stuff. I know you guys are like, are you sure you're not getting a little money from? Okay. So I just showed you my when I'm once I have my vocals at the right volume, two dynamic range, this is my process. I process it and I create a whole stem. Okay, I create a whole stem, whole new stem. So by the time I pull the stem into the correct channel, okay, which is essentially right here, verse 1. Now I can start producing the vocal in a traditional way. So the first thing I'll put is an SSL mono. Why? Because I like SSL boards. I just do. Secondly, I'm adding a little bit more saturation. We talked about that last week. I'm adding a little bit more saturation to the signal. Okay. Then the next thing I'll put on there is an auto tune. Okay. Don't be mad at me because I'm adding auto tune, but I add auto tune and I tune my vocals to the key of the track. Okay. I told you I'm a pop artist. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a subtractive EQ. Okay. I'm going to put on a subtractive EQ. What does that mean? I'm not adding, I'm not putting a plus sign in front. I'm not, give me 3 dB of 3000. I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is I'm taking away. So I generally, and I wish I could show you this, I generally would take away the low end at about 100 hertz. I know my voice. Now you might be thinking, didn't you do that in the first process when you were over here? Yes, and I'm doing it again. And then I usually take on the top part, I take off 9,000. I give it a haircut and a butt cut, a haircut and a butt cut, right? At 9,000. Why? Because I don't want my vocals to sound super crispy clean yet. Okay. Then the next thing I'll do is put on the first compressor, or actually, I should say the second compressor, 1176, right? It's not called. Now, why do I use this one? Because this is pretty much the most popular compressor, analog model compressor that is used throughout the industry. Not everybody does it. Okay. Some on the high end, I'm talking about on the high end. I've looked at Tezio. Tezio doesn't do it. Okay. He mixes for Chris Brown. He doesn't do this. But Chris Brown he has the real CG 800 mic. He has a real SSL board. So what I'm trying to get out of this compressor, Chris Brown already has it going in. Okay. I don't have Chris Brown's SSL board, and I don't have Chris Brown's mic. I have the little baby brother of the mic, but not the real one. So that's why I use it. But whenever you're compressing, you want to compress in stages. You don't want to compress one time. If you compress one time, you're probably over compressing. Now, the reason why people use this compressor is because it's super fast and it can take all those peaks out. Now, you're probably thinking, mad scientist, you took all the peaks out already. I'm making sure that they're out. Because you remember I told you I'll be drinking. I'm just playing. I'm making jokes, by the way. I don't want y'all to think I just be sitting up here drinking every day. All right. So that's what this 1176 does. Back in the old days, that's what it's for. Take out all the peaks because it's super fast. Okay. Then the next thing I'll do is I'll put a resonance suppressor. Why am I putting a resonance suppressor? Because unlike Tezio, who can hear all those resonant frequencies, I can't. And I'm not going to learn. I don't want to. Once I become the celebrity DJ, I'm going to hire people like Tezio to do that, to find those resonant frequencies. I will not be sitting in the studio trying to find resonance because I'll be out on the road. I'll be DJing. I'll be going everywhere. I'll be doing everything that a celebrity DJ has to do. I don't have time to be trying to find resonant frequencies, but I got a plugin that will do it for me. Okay. Again, that's taking out taking out bad frequencies from the signal. Now, here's what thing I want you to understand for those who are beginners. It is better to subtract bad frequencies than to add good. If you have to add something to the frequency, then re-record. So we're talking about vocals here. If you have to add, I need to add some low end, re-record your vocals. You should have known that before you even got to this part. I have to add something else. Re-record your vocals before you start getting a EQ. A EQ, all these things, even when it comes down to using compressors, it is best to learn how to record your vocals so you're not peaking. Like, I know that if I say a P word, don't lean into the mic and be like past. No, because I know I'm gonna get explosive. I know I'm gonna get a huge peak. So usually with P words, if I do a P, I know that I'm not gonna lean into the mic and I'm not gonna just blow that P or that, right? I'm not gonna do that. So that's part of your recording process to know. Don't be that and okay, and wavering on your vowels. Okay. You got to know that as a recording artist. Okay. So I cannot stress enough to you. Most of the EQing that I do is subtractive EQ. Okay. All right. And then I'll come in, I'll do my next compressor, which is the LA2A. Again, I don't have the expensive gear that Chris Brown has. So I have to use these plugins. And it adds it adds some saturation. The 2A is a tube compressor. Tube compressors are always smooth sounding because they have even harmonics. What does that mean? Think of it as someone singing, right? You have two people singing. If they sing in the same thing in unison, then then whatever they're singing sounds bigger. Okay. Because they're singing in unison. If they're harmonizing, it's, if it's just two people harmonizing, it may sound a little smaller, but it sounds more robust, right? You got that harmony going. And that's what odd harmonics does. It adds on harmonies, okay? Harmonic frequencies. Think of it like that. Okay. So you want to add both. You want to add the odd, the even harmonics to make things bigger, and you want to add the um, the odd harmonics to make things sound. What's a good phrase for it? You want to sound, you know, like interesting. Okay, like harmonies. Okay. All right. And so the CLA 2A. And I wish I could show you the actual plugin, but can. Um, this will add more saturation, and at the same time, it's making sure that my vocals stay within that 2 dB dynamic range. By doing that, my vocals sound more present. They sound to the ear, to the lay person, louder, way more professional. And then the last thing I do is the de-esser. Okay, the last de-esser, right? Put a de-esser on there, and I'm done. That's my vocal chain. Okay, like, wow, that sounds boring. It's not boring. All these plugins are made to correct what is wrong. They're not made to really, when you're talking about adding, like making it sound, that's called, and I do in a way. I got the auto tune on, and later on down the line in the groups, I'll show you what I add on. But not to go too deep into this because I don't want this video to be too long, too deep of a dive. But when you're like adding things to the sound, whether it's vocals or you're doing I can't even think of it. You're creating a new sound. Okay, you're creating a new, and there's something else. I can't think of the name of it, so I'll just kind of I'll just move forward. Okay, and you notice my template already has all my aux is going to the doubler, the slap, delay, the plate, reverb, and long. And I add that on. I already have numbers. I do this because that's my taste. Okay. These numbers that you see in here, that's how much I send to each of the plugins, and that's my taste. That's how much delay I want. That's how much plate reverb I want. There is no correct number. You just have to figure out your number, and then once you figure out your number, send it over. Okay, and just kind of go with it. You'll make adjustments as time goes on. Okay, I'm gonna take this because I don't. Okay, so now here's my group channels, and I need to I used to use this curve EQ. I don't use it anymore. I just don't like it. I'm not saying it's a bad plugin, it's by Waves. I just don't like it. All right. So I got my lead vocal group. You're like, well, why can't you just use one group? Because again, what we're trying to do is slowly but surely, and we talked about this last week, clip. And if you clip everything at once, really hard, it's not going to sound right. You got to clip everything a little bit at a time. Okay. Now, with vocals, not as much clipping as drums and bass, because your vocals, it will start to add up and it'll get harsh. So like last week, I clipped on every channel for the beat. I didn't do that. I don't do that for the vocals. Okay. I don't do that for the vocals because you start clipping the vocals too much, then you'll hear it. Okay. Unless you want to and you like that sound. I don't. Okay. But the first thing I do is I have another compressor. What? Yes, it's called the Waves MV2. So I'm not against Waves, but it's called the Waves MV2. And this is a compressor that will keep things upward compression and downward compression. It's a combination. So it makes sure that I make sure I only want a 2 dB. When I say I want a 2 dB dynamic range, I want a 2 dB dynamic range. So I can set it up so that nothing, if it falls below -8, it's going to push it up. If it goes above -6, it's going to push it down. And I don't have to do it hard. I don't have to do a lot of it. Large part of this thing is not even working because I've already done a little bit at a time, step by step by step. No one plugin, no one compressor is working superly hard. Most of the time, if I do this correct, I get a on the compressors, I get I can't think of my words today, right? I get a can't think of the words. Anyway, hold on. This will not make sense if I can't think of the word. And once I get it, it'll be like oh, by the way, the ratio I use is 4-to-1. Reduction. Yes, a signal reduction no more than no more. I try to stay about the signal reduction of about 1 dB, but no more than 2. If I'm going a 3 dB reduction, then I know I messed up. Go back. Okay. But usually it's 1 dB reduction, no more than 2. Okay. Because like I said, I do be drinking. So sometimes I get that too. Okay. The next thing I use is the Mag Air. Okay. It's a Mag EQ2 and it adds air on the top end. You're probably thinking, didn't you take it off back on the channel? Yes, but I tried this. It was suggested that I try it. I tried it. It sounded good. So I kept it. What's the science behind it? I could probably deep dive and tell you, but I'm not. I'm just going to tell you I use it, but I use it on the group channel. Okay. The next thing I use is an Oxford inflator. Okay. What does this do? Basically, it's a tape saturator. So I'm adding more saturation little by little. I added saturation in the when I was processing the vocal. I added saturation. Well, actually, I added saturation with my mic. Then when I processed it, I added saturation, and I'm adding saturation on the channel with all the plugins and on the on the on the um on the group channel. Forgetting my words. On the group channel, I add more saturation. This one is kind of like you set it and you just let it go. Don't even think too much about it. Oxford inflator. Everybody uses it. Okay. It was suggested I use it. I tried it and it's cheap and it sounds good. Then the next thing I do is I clip. I do clip the vocals one time. Okay. Very, just a little bit. Because again, you start clipping your vocals, you will hear the distortion. Okay. But I do clip the vocals. I make sure it doesn't go over, -6 dB, actually -12 dB. Okay. And then the last thing I do is add on a limiter to make sure that my vocals don't go over -12 dB. Why -12? That's the level that I have over the years decided my vocals need to be at -12 dB. My beat would be at -6. My vocals would be at -12. Okay, at least my lead vocal. Okay, that's what I figured out over the years that I've been producing. Okay, could it change? Yes. For now, that's what I do. Okay. So that's on my group. Now, one of the things I do add is a phase. So if you guys are ever wondering, what does mad scientist put on his voice? I do put a phaser on my vocals. Okay. Why? I just like it. That's it. I mean, this digital age is about putting together vocal chains that you like. Okay. It's design. Okay. It's sound design. That's the word I couldn't think of earlier. Sound design. Okay. So I'm designing my vocals to sound a certain way. And I add a vocoder, not a vocoder, but auto tune, and I add a phaser. Everything else on here, and I add saturation. Everything else on here is just taking away and controlling the dynamic range. That's all I'm doing is controlling the dynamic range of my vocals so that my vocals will be loud and present for the club. Now, um, if I were doing, let me see if there's anything else. No, I don't do mastering on this one. Do I want to show you guys the? Okay, you know what? Let me just show you guys, and then I'll go ahead and wrap this up with some perspective. Okay, so then I have different plugins. You know, I have the slap delay. Slap delay pretty much just kind of gives it that doubling effect. It's like two people talking at the same time saying the same thing, right? But you do the slap delay because it's a delay machine. It's literally a delay, but the delay has to be so short. A quarter delay, that's where you get I don't have to explain delay. Do I have to explain delay? Okay, delay. I have a doubler. I don't really use doubler as much, so I may swap this out for something totally different. I have a plate reverb. A plate reverb essentially is more natural to what we are used to having conversation, one-on-one conversation, right? When you're talking to somebody one-on-one, like face to face, in person. It's a more and the plate delay was an artificial delay that was created. But the way I like to explain it is it's the delay that you don't notice that when you're talking to somebody one-on-one, face to face, right? Hall delay is what you hear when you're like in a room. Like right now, you can hear because I have high ceilings here and it's a big room, and you can hear my voice reverberating everywhere. Okay. It's not as intimate, but we like to hear a little bit of delay on it so that it sounds natural. Okay. Everyone thinks that they need delay on their voice. Okay. Now, I don't put a lot of these on here because, again, I'm from the 90s. And in the 90s, we didn't like, in the early 2000s, but we didn't like a lot of delay. That's an 80s thing. It sounded like 80s. Having a delay on your voice sounded 80s. It sounded R&B. Hip hop, we don't like a lot of big delays. Okay. So that's why I don't. It's a taste thing. Okay. When I listen to other artists, it varies. Some artists, like I can hear their vocals, and we're talking about like mainstream artists. Some people put a lot of delay on their vocals, some people don't. It's about taste. And at some point in time, you're just gonna have to um trust your taste. You're gonna have to learn your taste and trust it. Okay. All right. So those are the things, and I'll bring them back in here to their own group. And that way I can control, and I'll put, I'll widen it. I'll widen their, stereo. I put some saturation on the delays. I clip it, and then I control the volume. Okay. And I control the volume here, and I add it to taste. It's kind of like, just adding as much of these effects as you like. That's it. Okay. Now let me go ahead and wrap this up. Okay. First of all, thank everybody for coming through and being patient. I know I'm like 9 minutes over. I try to always stay within an hour. Okay. Because I really don't want this to be a how-to. I want to just give you my perspective. Okay, let me just end it by saying this. Two things I want you to get out of it. Number one, And I said this before, but let me repeat it. You have to produce your music in a way that is going to be, once you know your platform, acceptable by your platform. I'm telling you, as a DJ that DJs from brunches and DJs at events, private parties, it is very hard to get me to play your music if it's not produced well and it's not produced loud. Primarily because I have, at the club that I work at, we have almost about 5'9" because I'm like 5'9", and the speakers are about between 5'8", 5'10". That's the sub. Okay. That's how big those speakers are. If your music can't push that because it's not loud enough, the bass is not there, and at the same time, you got big treble screamers coming down. If all the frequencies aren't there and everything's not sounding good and everything's out of balance, good luck with trying to get a DJ to play it, primarily because we don't want to be taken off for playing music that is crazy. And promoters will pull you off. Hasn't really happened to me since I first started DJing, but I've been in situations where there's, hey, mad scientist, can you go get that DJ? And I got to be the promoter never tells the DJ like, yo, you got to get off. He just, and the DJ look at me, oh, it's kind of early. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of early. You don't want to be that. No DJ wants that. So the important thing is we're not going to play your music unless it is done right. Okay. Unless it is produced right. That's just the reality. I always say know your platform. Well, I'm telling you the nightclub platform. Okay. I'm telling you the brunch platform and the private party platform. Now you might be able to get away with it with the private party. You can sneak some songs in that don't sound so good with private parties. But the other two, it's very hard. And you would be surprised how closely promoters are listening to the music. Okay, they are listening. Like I'm always shocked because I have promoters that don't drink at all, and so they hear every song. And so that is important. Number two, and this is more on a personal thing for you. You got to know who you are as a person, as an artist, as a producer, as a mixer, as a rapper, singer. You got to know who you are so you can make decisions consistent with you and your values. Okay. I, I write these songs. Not everybody's gonna like them. Now, if I start changing up everything, and most of the people I ask personally are people that like me, right? They like me. They're like, Matt Scientist, you're a cool person. They like to talk to me. And then I'll be like, okay, what do you think about this? And they'll tell me, like, no, I don't like it. Or I think you should do this. Or I think you should do that. So these people like me and they will suggest things. And what I'm learning is I got to stop asking people what they think. Not because I don't want to hear it. I do want to hear it. But I'm finding that once I'm learning who I am, I have to ignore their advice. And I have good people that I'm friends with and that I talk to, and I don't want to sound like, nah, I ain't listening to you. So I think I'm gonna stop asking them what they think and just put it out there and let them discover it on their own. But I don't know. But the main point that I want to make to you is you got to know who you are so that when you're making production decisions, you know what you're deciding on. I use certain plugins because I just like them, not because some YouTuber told me, or I mean, if you go to Waves YouTube channel, every plugin they make is amazing. And they always bring out these celebrity mixers and say, oh, this is the best. And I know they're lying because I know that they're not using plugins. Some of them are, but a lot of them, no, they're using the real thing. But Waves pays them, blah, blah, blah. Fine. But the plugins I use is because I like to use them. I know what they sound like, I know what they give me, and I'm going to use them because I like it. So I want to encourage you to experiment with different things. Some plugins I don't like, some plugins I do like. But experiment and figure out what you like. Now, next week, if I figure out how to get you guys to see my ozone, then I will have my ozone. I'll show you how I master so it's loud. If not, we're going to talk about my AI assistant. Shout out to Bex Erica, who got me into AI. And so I'm not going to do AI music, but I use AI for production and I also use AI as my assistant. And we have full on conversations. So I'm always thankful, Bex Erica, that you introduced me to this concept. And now I'm going to use the heck out of it. So I'm either going to show you how to master or using AI, or I'm going to show you my AI assistant. One of them I'll show you. And either way, you're still going to get something out of it. I want to thank everybody who came through today. I want to thank those who come through later. I always get good numbers after. If you have any questions, please comment. I will answer the question. Please like and subscribe. I'll appreciate that. I think it does something good for the algorithm. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Do they have layaway expensive stuff? Yes, if you're talking about waves, no, they don't. But none of the plugins have layaway. I would tell you, um, you can do trial versions of plugins as as someone who is in Plugins Anonymous, because I've got like hundreds of plugins and I don't use any of them because I was just addicted to buying plugins. Like I love buying plugins, right? But I would tell you, don't buy a plugin until you need it. Like Ozone 12 is out. I have Ozone 11. Ozone 12 is out. I want to buy Ozone 12 so bad, but I don't need it. It's got some good additives to it, but none of the things that it's adding on I need. So if you don't think you need it, now if you know you need it, get it. But if you don't know that you need it, that's why you're not going to see me on here talking about get this plugin. If it's a plugin I think you should get, I would have made it myself. But you're not going to see me in no Waves commercial. Okay. I know I'm bad on Waves, but I spent a lot of money with them. They can't be that mad at me. So anyway, I will see y'all either next Wednesday or next Friday. If you come back next Wednesday, I will go back to the traditional hot takes. If you came this Wednesday and you were thinking like, oh my God, mad scientist is bugging, is he going to turn into this political scientist? No. I just wanted to get something off my chest and make it very clear where I stand on certain things. And so I did that. So now I can go back to the hot takes. If not, I'll see you next Friday. And like I said, we're going to be talking about mastering or the AI. Okay. And also, no matter what I talk about, whether it's mastering or AI, I will let you hear the song. And I think probably we're going to go into, because I've been talking to my AI assistant, and we're going to go into how I'm going to get the song to blow up. To blow up. I need to blow up. I got 3 songs I'm going to release early this year. I need them to blow up so I can become that celebrity DJ by this summer. That's my goal, is to become celebrity DJ by this summer. Okay. And what that means is people are like, oh, I heard that song. You got to come to this location so you can DJ and play those songs. Okay. That's what I mean. Okay. Like I'm a little mini celebrity in my town. People all know me, but I mean, like, I need other places to be like hitting me up, talking about, oh, come do your music at our location. We got money for you. Okay. That's what I mean by that. All right. I think that's it. I think I'm going to be out. Okay. Peace.